Time Warner Cable is pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up, we've got the election results, but will they even count?
Plus, students protesting tuition increases leads to an arrest.
In sports, we'll introduce you to one student who keeps the basketball team running smoothly.
And there's a new addition to the Tar Heel family.
Carolina Week starts right now.
From the James F. Goodman Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, connecting campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
2,117 votes, which is 46.97% of the votes.
So there's going to be a runoff election next week, or maybe not. Good evening, I'm Kathleen Whitty.
And I'm Preston Jones. The Board of Elections is meeting at 5:30 to decide whether or not last night's election will count. Now, here are the results from last night. Will Limonsaw received about 47% of the vote. Calvin Lewis was in second place with about 23%. And Tim Longest had about 23% also, only 4 votes behind Lewis. Sydney Swafford is now a Carolina Week reporter covering student government, but she is also a former member of the Board of Elections. Sydney joins us now live in the studio. Sydney, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, this year you said there were about 2,600 fewer votes than last year. What is to blame for that?
I think a big part of that is definitely the computer glitches that have been going on. Several students were unable to vote in the right student Congress district, and if you don't vote for a student Congress representative, you can't move on in the software to vote for student body president. So I think a lot of students just X'd out of the window and went on with their day.
Could there be any other reasons, like how dirty the elections were last year? Are people disillusioned?
Absolutely. Last year was just an awful example of how student elections should be run. And I think this year a lot of students, especially some of the underclassmen whose only experience in Carolina student government is that election, are completely turned off from voting.
Now, Sydney, the drama's not over yet. The Board of Elections will meet at 5:30. When will we hear something? And if there is another election, when will that election be?
The chairwoman of the Board of Elections said that they should have a result by 9 p.m. tonight as to whether or not there will be another election next week. Now, if they do decide to redo student body president elections, that'll happen next Thursday, and all 3 candidates will be on that ballot.
All right, Sydney, well, thank you for joining us. Remember to join us live next Tuesday for our special election coverage.
And also part of the voting next week, UNC students will decide whether our university will continue to be a part of the Association of Student Governments. ASG is meant to represent student interests and is made up of leaders from all of the state universities. Each student funds the association through a $1 yearly student fee. That's across 16 of the state's 17 system schools. But Student Congress has expressed concern about ASG's effectiveness.
The elections are almost over, and perhaps student government won't be as consumed with tuition next year. We finally have the numbers, a 13.5% increase next year. Opponents may have lost the tuition war, but for the first time in a long time, an issue is galvanizing students.
Protesters shouting, "We will be heard!" and beating on drums. Can't take it no more. Students in the UNC system say they've had enough.
Students are obviously very upset about these tuition hikes. I think we feel like we've been pushed up against the wall.
Kaylin Williams was among 200 protesters from campuses across the state. Police were on hand and arrested former ASG President Andrew Payne, handcuffing him with plastic zip ties. He was later charged with second-degree trespassing and resisting arrest.
He was actually thrown onto the floor right in front of me and forcibly dragged out of the room, kicking and screaming.
He went to the bathroom and the police would not let him back in. He was already in the meeting.
Still, board members gave the green light to another tuition hike, the one proposed by System President Tom Ross, with an average increase of 9.9% for the next 2 years.
Our campuses needed some help to, as I say, put Band-Aids on the most serious problems.
Now, if state lawmakers agree, in-state students will pay $700 more next year, about $1,600 more for out-of-state students. After the meeting, students raided the boardroom, taking over the seats, throwing name cards in the air. Student Body President Mary Cooper says the students made a difference.
Students are heard, and there's no reason to be discouraged. While it may not be to the extent that everyone would hope for, we were participating and they were there.
But many are still disappointed with the BOG.
The orders to arrest anyone who tries to enter the meeting. Do they really want to hear our voice? Doesn't look like it.
It's yet to be determined when the General Assembly will approve the tuition increase. We'll keep you posted.
And some students are wondering about Alert Carolina tonight. Why did it take 5 days for a report on a rape to make it out on the system? A 27-year-old woman who is not a student called 911 early Thursday morning seeking medical attention. She says she was raped here in this alley behind Cosmic Cantina. The Chapel Hill Police Department is heading up the investigation. Students were informed of the incident just yesterday in this email from Alert Carolina asking anyone with new information to come forward. This even though the victim reportedly is not asking for an investigation. The Department of Public Safety says there was no need to inform students of the event any earlier. And it won't be so easy to occupy that abandoned CVS in Carborough anymore. It's in response to last week's protest by the Carborough commune. Project developers for the building on North Greensboro Street built a fence to keep people out. Last week, protesters took over the building until they were removed by the police.
And it's going to be much more difficult to occupy the Peace and Justice Plaza in the future, too. The plaza, located just outside the old post office on Franklin Street, has been home to the Occupy movement for the past few months. Chapel Hill town officials admit they've been looking the other way when it comes to Occupy members breaking the law. That's all changing. The council voted 8-1 to amend the current ordinance. Here's a look at the major points of the new ordinance. Groups must obtain permits to use public spaces 48 hours prior to events, and those are good from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. and only for 7 days at a time. Groups without a permit can use the public property for up to 3 hours after notifying the town manager. And finally, the plaza will split into 2 sections, and no one group can reserve both sections at the same time.
Well, we all know parking here in Chapel Hill can be a pain, and now the town council is making some changes to its towing ordinance. Towing companies must now accept at least 2 forms of payment, including cash and at least 2 major credit cards. The towing fee will increase from $100 to $125 with a graduated fine for repeat offenders. No towing lot can be located more than 15 miles from that intersection of Columbia and Franklin Street, and companies must notify the police before towing any vehicle. Police will inspect towing lots once a year, and any towing company with 3 offenses over any 12-month period will risk losing its business license. And Chapel Hill officials want students to think twice about using their cell phones while driving. Officials set up a driving simulator this morning in Fetzer Hall that mimics the dangerous effects of cell phone use while driving. Some notable figures got behind the wheel as well, including head football coach Larry Fedora right there, and even Chapel Hill Mayor Mark Kleinschmidt. The town council will hold a public hearing next Monday to discuss a ban on cell phone use while driving. Well, it is all about the money. At least that's the case with printing here at UNC. All of us are allotted $40 of printing money every semester, but Preston, I personally barely use any of that money.
Maybe I use half, I'm not sure. So where does all that extra money go? Amy Whitaker has that story.
UNC senior Colleen Cook knows she's not using all the money she's paid for printing.
Last semester, I used probably about $10 of my printing money.
That's only 25% of the money students get for printing each semester. UNC Computer Labs manager Jeremiah Joyner says most students are like Cook.
Last fall semester, we had about 21,000 students who printed in the labs, and of those 21,000, about 2,000 of those printed more than the 400-page allotment.
So, if students get $40 for printing each semester, where does that money come from, and what happens if you don't use it all? Students pay about $230 in technology fees when they pay tuition each semester. 40 of that is used for printing. That really means students can print 400 pages before they have to start paying for it themselves.
On the UNC One card, it's in a dollar amount because the One card is a financial transaction.
And the fewer pages students print, the more money the university has to fund other things.
They use the physical lab locations, or they may use virtual lab.
Cook is just 1 out of 90% of students that don't max out their printing money. She'll have to check out the renovated labs and services on campus to fully benefit from the fees she's paid. In Chapel Hill, I'm Amy Whitaker, Carolina Week.
Yoga's good for you, right? Well, not always. Our health team report is ahead.
Reggie, just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. Now, we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
How you doing? My name's Steve. My family's lived in this neighborhood for years. Recently, things got so tight, we had to go to our local food bank for help. I lost a lot of sleep worrying about what the neighbors might think. That is until I saw them there, too. How'd I do, Steve?
A little stiff. If you could have done a little better.
What? Come on. You know, I have an Academy Award.
Yeah, but not for playing me.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
When tragedy struck. Seniors, do you know what you'll be doing after graduation? It's a question I get every other day, Preston.
Yeah, Kathleen, I get the same question. Now, according to Career Services, about 12% of grads are still looking for jobs 6 months after graduation. But the General Alumni Association wants to help. Reporter Angela Farrington has that story.
Rashida Moore graduated last May with a degree in international studies. She was excited and ready to step into the working world. But
what do? I have all these options. And then it just became really real, like, oh, this is my life. So I get to choose what to do next. Got it.
But she didn't have it. Moore looked into jobs, research opportunities, and graduate schools for almost 8 months. Nothing worked out.
Just the first step is usually the hardest because there isn't necessarily a guideline.
There is help. The General Alumni Association provides one free yearly session with its career coach, Linda Conklin. With 15 years of experience, she's helped thousands of alumni.
But more than anything else is to help them figure out who they are so that they can market themselves successfully.
Conklin helps people in person, over the phone, and through the internet. She spends a lot of time looking at resumes.
Lots of people treat the resume as though we're a straitjacket. Yeah. They try to wriggle into it. It's not very comfortable and not very attractive.
Here's how she sees it.
But I like to think of it as a Technicolor dream coat, where you can use it to market all those wonderful things, your accomplishments, the things that you feel good about.
Students often turn to University Career Services for help, but 6 months after you graduate, you're no longer eligible. Conklin says many don't know about Alumni Career Services, and others think they should only contact her if they are unemployed.
And it's for any stage of your career, whether you want to start or change or advance it.
Although Moore didn't get career assistance from the university, she did get a job here. In January, she was hired by the School of Public Health to work in student affairs.
You just have to give yourself some patience.
But if you find yourself running out of patience, you might want to look into the General Alumni Association. In Chapel Hill, I'm Angela Farrington, Carolina Week.
Now, there is a catch. The free career session is only available to members of the Alumni Association. If you're interested in joining, you can find more information on our website at carolinaweek.org.
Now, not every student is looking to find a job after undergrad. Many are planning to go to grad school, medical school, or even law school. We know it's hard to get into UNC's law school, but it's also hard to get the money to pay for it. The cash pickings are scarce and the competition is fierce for the third of the class that gets a scholarship. Reporter Amber Roberts gives us an inside look at one scholarship student.
Cody Gillians is not your average law school student. Gillians has taken an educational leave of absence from his job to pursue his interest in patent law. He has an undergraduate degree in engineering and worked for Fortune 500 company IBM. He says taking the salary cut to become a full-time student has been an adjustment. A UNC merit scholarship has helped ease the struggle.
Understand that I'm 32, I'm an older student, and I'm used to a house and having a job with pay, and et cetera, et cetera. So going from that down to, nothing and becoming a full-time student again was a pretty, severe adjustment.
His scholarship roughly covers half of his $34,000 out-of-state tuition. Dean of Admissions Michael States says there are 2 minimum GPA requirements merit scholars need to worry about.
Which is a 2.2 at the end of the first year and a 2.25 at the end of the second year. So as long as a scholarship recipient has that grade point average, they keep their scholarship.
If scholarship students want to maintain their financial aid package, they're gonna have to hit the books.
And that's exactly what Gillians has been doing. He graduates in May and has a job offer at a law firm. Gillians is appreciative of the financial support the university has provided him.
That's the biggest thing I really appreciate is just the ease of mind, the peace of mind while I'm going through law school.
UNC Merit Scholarships are awarded to individuals based on their GPA, LSAT score, and educational and professional experiences. In Chapel Hill, where the brightest and best are brewed, I'm Amber Roberts, Carolina Week.
Former Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain is coming to speak at UNC. The big question is, when? Last week, Student Congress approved college Republicans' request for nearly $11,000 to bring Cain to campus as a way to rally support for the GOP. He was originally speaking on March 1st. Now, due to scheduling conflicts, Cain is set to speak March 23rd. But it could end up being as late as April, says College Republicans Chairman Greg Steele.
The number of people taking campus tours has increased by 16,000 since 2010. And officials say that that number is rising. While the number of visitors for 2011 is still being calculated, administrators are projecting more of an uptick due to the school's increased popularity. They say the increase in applications from the Common App is the reason. The Office of Admissions was forced to hire 10 additional student tour guides this year to deal with the increase in visitors. Tours are given every day, starting with an information session in Jackson Hall and followed by a 1-hour walk around the campus.
We're about 2 weeks into Black History Month, and our campus continues to honor African Americans, especially those who are part of our campus history. Local preservation groups are continuing their work to identify unmarked graves in the African American section of the Old Chapel Hill Cemetery. The Preservation Society of Chapel Hill says it's the best way to show respect to the deceased and their families. Radar detection technology is being used to find and mark undocumented graves. The Society says the Old Chapel Hill Cemetery should be mapped out by the spring.
20 million Americans. 20 million Americans practice yoga, an exercise that can improve your flexibility, your posture, and even your breathing. And there are classes offered for free to students here at UNC.
But recent news reports suggest there can be a downside. Carolina Week Health Team reporter Leslie Copeland shows us why.
Yoga, like any physical activity, can lead to serious injuries. While performing a leg stretch during an interview in 1995, yoga instructor Carol Krukoff felt her hamstring pop.
The next day, I could barely walk, and I had really torn the attachment to the hamstring that's right by the pelvis, and I was pretty disabled for quite a long time.
Physical therapist Brian Beatty says yoga injuries result from people pushing their bodies too far.
Most of the injuries that you see related to yoga are where someone takes that joint and puts it to an end range of motion, and then holds it there to the point beyond the fatigue that the muscles and tendons can actively hold, and then they're just putting stress on the passive structures.
Beatty compares a plastic six-pack ring to the tissue in your joints. When the tissue stretches too far, it doesn't return to its normal shape, making you more prone to injury.
So you get a system where the joints are actually floppier and looser than they should be for optimal function.
To avoid injury, you want to use proper technique, says yoga teacher Mike Lyons.
I mean, when you think of fitness, you think of no pain, no gain. That should be the furthest thing from your mind in the practice of yoga.
Krukoff agrees.
So unlike Western physical activity, where you push yourself 110% and you really come on, one more, and there's striving and there's pushing, that mentality needs to be erased.
Instead, she says,
yoga's not about performing. Never show off in yoga.
That's the take-home message. Be aware of your body, know your limits, and check your ego at the door. In Chapel Hill, I'm Leslie Copeland, Carolina Week.
Well, it's been a beautiful day today, but that might not be the case tomorrow. We've got weather next.
Two outs with a runner on first base. Now the big guy comes up to bat, hitting .342 with 92 RBIs and 36 home runs.
Chill raw and prepared foods promptly. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Turning a 20-foot wall into a canvas takes vision. So will getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm meteorologist Katie McGee. Looking ahead at today's weather headlines, we can see that there is a couple rain showers coming our way in the near future, and that'll also bring a slight cool down in temperature. And then the question on everyone's mind, will we ever see winter weather this season? Looking at the current satellite around North Carolina, you can see that there is no cloud cover at all, and that's due to a high pressure system currently over us. However, if we zoom out a little and take a wider view, we can see a huge cloud mass over here, and that's in association with a low pressure system and a cold front. Now, looking at the surface map, we can see the high pressure system over North Carolina, and we can see the cold front here along western Texas, and we'll want to keep our eye on that because that'll bring us our cool weather and a little bit of rain later on. Looking ahead at tonight, we can see that rain pushing closer to North Carolina, and as that moves forward into tomorrow, it will push that high pressure system out as it moves forth. Looking ahead at tonight, we can see we'll have partly cloudy skies as that system moves in, and a light breeze as that starts moving closer with lows around 40. And tomorrow, highs won't reach quite 60, but stay in the upper 50s as that light wind persists. And it should be mostly sunny, or mostly cloudy, and that rain should start around noon. Looking at the fast forecast, just breaking things down a little more for you tomorrow, around 8 p.m. tonight, skies should still be sunny and clear with temperatures around 50. However, around midnight, the system should start to move in, and temperatures will go down to about 46 degrees. And then 8 a.m. tomorrow, we'll have temperatures in the mid-40s, around 44, and that rain should start again around noon. Now looking at tomorrow, we can see that rain starting again on Thursday around 57, and then Friday, well, skies should start to clear up with temperatures warming up around 60. However, as we go into the weekend, we can start to see temperatures cooling down a bit, and we can see temperatures cooling down, and then Monday, skies should clear up again, and we'll have a wonderful week.
So if I'm trying to get outside this weekend, I should do it on Saturday.
Saturday is definitely the day to go.
Sounds like it's going to be beautiful. Well, thanks so much for the update, Katie.
Thank you.
Coming up in sports, we'll preview the men's basketball team matchup with Miami.
Millions of people are affected by disaster in America. And we're right there, providing food. With more than 200 food banks, reaching communities all across America. Donate now for immediate relief and long-term recovery. Every dollar helps provide food for disaster victims. Help now at feedingamerica.org.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Andy Reeves. The men's basketball team is down in Miami tonight for a showdown with the Hurricanes. Tyler Zeller has been huge for the Heels lately, averaging more than 23 points and 9 rebounds over his last 3 games. He needs to keep up the plays like this nice hook shot down low. That's a nice play right there. UNC will have to trade blows in the post with Miami's front court, which is big and productive. The low post D will be key in tonight's game. Definitely going to need blocks like that one by Tyler Zeller. In addition to leading scorer Kenny Kaji, the Canes have another big-time talent in center Reggie Johnson. Johnson is a 6'10", 284-pound monster in the paint, and that's after losing 40 pounds since arriving at Miami. You may remember Johnson from his big night at Cameron Indoor as the Canes beat the Blue Devils in overtime on February 5th. He had 27 points and 12 rebounds in that one. The game tips off at 8 p.m. Carolina fans know the players, but there are other students that they don't know about who make sure everything runs smoothly. One such person is head basketball manager, and reporter Clint Hanna has the story of what comes with that job.
UNC senior Tion Watson started as a JV manager his freshman year, and that didn't come with the most glorious duties.
During the game, sometimes we'll have a JV manager. We used to wipe up sweat during the actual course of the game.
The Annapolis native became a varsity manager last season, and the job got a little more interesting. When most students were rushing the court in the win against Duke, Watson had a different job.
So we had to go right back, make sure nobody took any Gatorade towels or uniforms or anything like that.
Most of the work is on days without games. Watson will show up hours before practice to set up and assist coaches. But the perks are nice. Watson has his own code and hand recognition access to the players' locker room, his own locker, and his own ACC championship ring.
The only time I have worn it is at Late Night with Roy, because that was the first, big event that we had, and we got it that day of Late Night. So I don't wear it during games. I kind of keep it in a secret place. So.
Watson has also met some famous people, including President Barack Obama at the Carrier Classic to start the season.
Shook my hand, they said my name, which was really cool too, the president saying my name.
There is one feeling Watson says trumps all others.
Just to be a part of something so big, something known worldwide, is just incredible. I'm truly blessed to have this opportunity.
Watson says as great as the ACC championship ring is, he'd love to have a national championship ring to go along with it. In Chapel Hill, I'm Clint Hanna, Carolina Week.
If the Heels don't win the championship this year, Watson will have one more shot at a ring. He's finishing his business degree this semester and will return next year to finish his second major, sports administration. Well, former UNC football coach Butch Davis finally found another job, but that doesn't mean UNC is off the hook for any of the $2.7 million Davis is owed in severance pay. Davis is now the special assistant to new Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Greg Schiano. Assistant is the key word there. If he had gotten a coaching position, UNC would owe additional money, but as it stands, Davis will receive 3 more annual payments of $590,000 in addition to the $933,500 he received last season. And guys, Davis was able to get that job because of a connection at Miami. Greg Schiano was his defensive coordinator when Davis was the head coach for the Canes.
So, always good to hear that, I guess, Butch, moving on.
Yep.
All right, Andy, thank you.
Definitely got a new job.
Well, coming up next, we'll see UNC's newest mascot.
You have a story idea? Call Carolina Week at 919-843-8292 or email us at carolinaweek@unc.edu. If you have questions about this program, write to Carolina Week, Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina 27599. Be sure to check out Carolina Week online at carolinaweek.org. Connect with us online by liking the Carolina Week Facebook page and following us on Twitter at Carolina Week UNC.
There's a new Ram on campus, and while it's sad that the 18th Ramses has gone on to greener pastures, we are very excited to introduce you to Ramses the 19th. The new Ramses lives at Hogan's Magnolia Farm in Chapel Hill. His owners call him Bam Bam, and they say he's showing all the signs of a great mascot already. The Hogans have been taking care of UNC's live mascots since the early 1920s. Now, Kathleen, do you know why we have a ram as a mascot?
I'll admit I heard this story once back in the day, but now I have no idea.
Well, the first Ramses goes back to 1924. The idea actually centered around a fullback by the name of Jack Merritt. They called him the battering ram.
Well, it's a sports thing, so it's no wonder that I didn't know. But actually, I just realized watching that video, I went out to the Hogan's farm just for a social call a couple months ago, and I guess I met little Bam Bam.
Did you meet little Bam Bam?
So I'm so excited.
Is he shaping up to be a good mascot, you
I think so. From what I could tell, I'm very good at,
Well, he's definitely a cute
good
one.
mascots, yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.